It's a privilege to share this space with you all. Just so you know, this is my first time of doing a presentation of this nature, but we've got this. So today I want to explore a question at the center of my doctorate research. What I'm going to be looking at today is what changes when women direct in Nollywood, and what might this reveal about feminist leadership, care, and creative praxis. When we think about leadership in film, we often imagine authority. We imagine visibility, hierarchy, or the person giving instructions on set. Leadership is frequently associated with control, it's associated with power and command. But through my research, I begin to ask a different kind of question. And that question that I begin to ask is, what if leadership in filmmaking also looks like care? What if it looks like holding people together under pressure, negotiating conflict, creating emotional safety, and somehow sustaining creative work despite limited time, limited funding, and countless structural obstacles? This presentation today will explore how women directors in Nollywood use storytelling as a form of feminist leadership, reshaping not only what appears on screen, but how creative work itself is organized, how it is experienced, and also how it is sustained. One might be asking, why Nollywood? Why does this matter? For those who are unfamiliar, Nollywood is one of the largest film industries in the world, even if I say so myself, producing an extraordinary number of films and playing a significant role in shaping cultural narratives, social values, and ideas about gender across Africa and also in the diaspora. Yet, despite this influence, conversations about authorship and creative leadership in Nollywood have historically centered around men. Women directors do exist, as you may know, and many are doing very remarkable jobs. But their labor, their leadership, and creative contributions often remain overlooked or under-theorized. And this matters quite a lot because the stories we tell shape how people understand relationships, how they understand identity, family, power, and other possibilities. So when women direct, something important happens, not only in the stories being told, but also how the story is being, or how the story itself takes place. So when women direct, we begin to notice some changes and some patterns. So the question that is driving this work is what changes when women are behind the camera. When I say behind the camera, not like just them filming, but when they are behind the camera as decision makers and as leaders. And part of what drew me to this work is both personal and creative. As a filmmaker myself, and as a researcher, and somehow someone who is very much deeply invested in women's stories, I found myself asking what actually happens when women are behind the camera as leaders, as decision makers, and made me to start making the documentary that I'm working on, which is part of my PhD study. And that title of that documentary is When Women Direct. And what it does is to explore the lived experiences, creative journeys, and working realities of women directors in Nollywood. The documentary sits alongside my doctoral research, like I mentioned earlier. But for me, it is also an act of listening to women describe what it means to lead in spaces not always designed for them. Listening to forms of labor that often remain invisible, little things that we don't notice, but women labor with these things every day. And listening to the ways women continue to create despite institutional, economic, cultural, and other structural limitations against them. So one of the key things emerging from my research is that women's leadership in Nollywood often operates through deeply relational practices. And when I say relational here, I mean leadership grounded in care, negotiation, and emotional intelligence. And you may want to know that in many cases, women directors are not just directing scenes, they are managing tensions, they are resolving conflict, they are encouraging actors, they are supporting the crew, balancing emotional energy, and protecting the creative vision of a film, while also protecting the people that are making the film. Crucially, this is where feminist leadership moves from theory into praxis, into the everyday realities of working under tight budgets, difficult schedules, institutional barriers, and gendered expectations. The understanding of leadership here resonates strongly with African feminist traditions such as nego-feminism, which emphasizes on negotiation, relationality, and collective survival rather than confrontation alone. And these women face numerous challenges, but they still sort of, get going. Because also feminist praxis does not always look loud. It does not always look hierarchical. And sometimes leadership looks like, being persistent. And it looks like collaboration and emotional labor, which these women give out every day. And my research also explores how these leadership help to shape what ultimately appears on screen. And in several women-directed films I have engaged with, there appears to be a recurring attention to emotional interiority, social relationships, care, everyday struggles, and the complexities of women's life. So this is not to essentialize women in any way, but it is to suggest that all women direct movies in the same way. No, but rather it is to recognize that lived experiences can influence creative priorities and forms of storytelling. We see this in works of what's her name, Jidesola Genevieve Nnaji. If you've seen Lion's Heart, we see the film, how it complicates more traditional masculine and understandings of authority by foregrounding collaboration and responsibility as forms of leadership. So in rounding off, importantly, women directors are often making these creative choices while working within industries still shaped by patriarchal expectations. Their work, therefore, becomes more than storytelling. It becomes negotiations, it becomes resistance, and reimagining. So what I hope that my work will contribute to the broader conversation on Black African feminism is to help to expand the understanding of what leadership and praxis can mean. Leadership is not only about occupying formal positions of power. It can also mean, sustaining communities, holding creative spaces together, making room for stories that might otherwise remain untold, and imagining different features through visual culture, but still, making films. So I want to leave us with the thought: women directors in Nollywood are not simply telling different stories. They are reshaping how stories are made. They are redefining what leadership and feminist praxis can look like, and if they are also helping to shape culture. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the conversation. Thanks again.